The pain of betrayal hits like a freight train one moment. You're standing on solid ground, certain of the love and trust between you, and the next, the floor drops out from under you. You replay every moment, searching for clues you missed, wondering how you could have been so blind. The humiliation burns. You trusted them completely, believed in the future you built together, only to discover it was all a lie. The person you loved, the one who knew your deepest fears and secrets, stabbed you in the back without hesitation. And now, all you feel is the weight of their deception pressing down on your chest, making it hard to breathe. Mark thought he knew his girlfriend inside and out. They had been together for years, shared dreams of a house, vacations, even children. He had memorized the sound of her laugh, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous, the little promises she'd whisper when they lay in bed at night. He never doubted her, not once. Until the day he found the messages. The evidence was undeniable. She had been seeing someone else for months, maybe longer. The texts were casual, intimate, as if she had never loved him at all. The worst part, she didn't even seem sorry. His first instinct was to scream, to demand answers, to make her feel even a fraction of the pain she had caused him. He wanted to shake her, to ask how she could do this after everything they'd been through. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the way she looked at him, with guilt, but with impatience, like he was the one inconveniencing her. Or maybe it was the sudden, crushing realization that no explanation would ever make sense of what she'd done. The person he thought he knew didn't exist. That's the cruelest part of betrayal. It doesn't just destroy the relationship, it destroys your sense of reality. You question everything, your judgment, your worth, even your memories. Was any of it real? Did they ever love you? Or were you just a placeholder until something better came along? The more you turn it over, in your mind, the more it festers. You want closure, but closure requires honesty. And someone capable of betrayal isn't capable of giving you the truth. Mark stood there, phone in hand, heart pounding, and for the first time in his life, he had no words. Not because he didn't feel anything, God. He felt everything, but because he knew nothing he said would change what happened. No argument would undo the betrayal. No amount of yelling would make her regret it. And that's when he realized, the only power he had left was the power to walk away without giving her another piece of himself. The silence wasn't surrender. It was the beginning of his fight back. The moment you discover betrayal, every fiber of your being screams for confrontation. Your pulse races, your hands tremble, and the words pile up in your throat like a dam about to burst. You want to unleash. You're hurt, to make them see the wreckage they've caused, to force them to acknowledge the pain they've inflicted. But here's the brutal truth. Reacting gives them exactly what they want. When you explode, when you beg for answers or lash out in rage, you hand them the script to their own redemption arc. Suddenly, they're no longer the villain there, the misunderstood protagonist in a drama you're keeping alive. Silence, on the other hand, strips them of that power. It's not passive. It's a deliberate act of defiance. Think about it. What hurts more than being ignored? When you refuse to engage, you deny them the catharsis of your anger, the satisfaction of your tears. They expect you to crumble, to chase them, to demand explanations, so they can gaslight you into believing it was somehow your fault. But silence. Silence is a void. It's the sound of their betrayal echoing back at them with no distraction, no noise to dilute its ugliness. Mark's ex sent him paragraphs of texts after he found out, some defensive, some pleading, others dripping with false concern, but he didn't respond. Not a single word. And with every unanswered message, her tone shifted from arrogance to insecurity, then finally, to desperation. That's the power of silence. It forces them to sit alone with what they've done, without the comfort of your emotional labor, to soften the blow. There's a reason the loudest person in the room is often the weakest. Real strength doesn't need to announce itself. When you choose silence, you communicate something far more profound than anger ever could. You are beneath my energy. You're not ignoring the pain. You're refusing to let them dictate how you process it. Marcus Aurelius understood this when he wrote that our power lies not in controlling external events, but in mastering our responses. Mark's silence wasn't about suppressing his grief. It was about reclaiming ownership of it, while his ex scrambled to justify her actions. To friends, to herself, even to him through those unanswered texts. He was already detaching. Every day he didn't react was a day he starved her. Narrative of oxygen. And here's the secret they don't want you to know. Silence isn't empty, it's full of meaning. It's the space where you rebuild your boundaries, where you relearn your worth without their voice in your ear. When you stop explaining, stop pleading, stop feeding their ego with your attention, something remarkable happens. They start to fade. The weight of their presence lightens. The grip they had on your thoughts loosens. Because silence isn't just the absence of words. It's the presence of self-respect. The moment you refuse to react, something fascinating happens there. Guilt transforms into panic. Cheaters and betrayers don't just want your forgiveness. They crave your participation in their narrative. They need you to yell, cry, or beg so they can twist the story into something that absolves them. If you scream, they can paint you as unstable. If you plead, they can frame themselves as the wounded party who had no choice. But silence. Silence is a locked door. It gives them nothing to work with, nowhere to hide. Suddenly, the script they rehearsed in their head, the one where they explain, justify, or even blame you falls apart. Without your reaction, they're left alone with the one thing they've been avoiding, the weight of what they've done. Mark's ex didn't expect his silence. She braced for explosions, tears, maybe even bargaining anything to confirm she still had power over him. Instead, she got radio silence. And that's when her text shifted from defensive, "You were never there for me anyway," to frantic, "Are you even upset? Say something." Her guilt, once comfortably buried under layers of excuses, began to surface. Why? Because silence forces accountability in a way words never can. When you don't engage, there's no argument to win, no drama to distract from the truth. They're left staring at their own reflection, and no amount of spin can change what they see. Psychology backs this up. Studies show that uncertainty triggers more anxiety than facing known consequences. When you react, you give them a clear path. They know exactly what you think, how much you hurt, and how to manipulate that pain. But silence is a question mark. It gnaws at them. Asterisk. Do you hate them? Are you moving on? Do you even care? Their imagination fills the void with worst-case scenarios, and suddenly, they're the ones obsessing over you. Mark's ex later admitted she'd lie awake, replaying his silence, inventing stories in her head about how he'd moved on effortlessly or was plotting revenge. The reality, he was simply living his life. But her mind, left without answers, turned her into her own punisher. This is why betrayers escalate when met with silence. They'll love bomb, gaslight, or even lash out, all to provoke a response that reassures them they still matter. Don't fall for it. Every unanswered message, every ignored attempt to bait you, is a brick in the wall between their actions and your peace. Their chaos is not your responsibility anymore. Let them drown in the consequences of their choices while you walk away, unscathed and untangled, because the greatest power you hold isn't in what you say to them, it's in what you refuse to say. The most satisfying revenge isn't found in shouting matches or public shaming, it's in the quiet, unshakable certainty that they no longer occupy space in your mind. When you choose silence over screaming, indifference over obsession, you're not just walking away, you're demonstrating something far more devastating. Mark's ex expected him to unravel. She wanted tears, late-night calls, maybe even grand gestures, to win her back, anything to confirm she still had control. Instead, he vanished from her world without explanation. No social media tantrums, no drunken texts, no mutual friend gossip, just nothing. And that absence became louder than any argument. Here's the paradox they can't stand. By refusing to perform your pain for them, you force them to confront the hollowness of their own actions. Betrayers feed off the drama they create. It lets them paint themselves as complex characters in a turbulent love story. But silence strips away the theatrics. There's no epic breakup scene, no passionate reconciliation, just the cold, boring truth that they did something cruel, and you chose not to stick around for the encore. Months later, when Mark's ex saw him laughing with friends at a coffee shop, perfectly at ease, while she was still stuck in the emotional aftermath, that's when it hit her. She'd lost. Not because he'd moved on faster, but because he'd reclaimed the narrative. His happiness wasn't a reaction to her. It existed independently of her altogether. This is the cleanest revenge, not because it hurts them, though it often does, but because it frees you, while they're stuck obsessing over whether you're suffering or thriving. You're already miles ahead, rebuilding a life they'll never be part of. Mark didn't block his ex out of spite. He simply stopped prioritizing her existence. He poured energy into deadlifts instead of dwelling on her texts, into weekend hikes rather than stalking her Instagram, and when she finally reached out with a half-hearted apology, he didn't respond. Not out of malice, but because she'd become background noise. That's the ultimate power move, when your silence isn't a tactic, but a testament to how little space they take up in your world. The truth is, revenge fantasies waste your time. The energy spent plotting to make them regret it could be invested in becoming someone you respect. Mark's real victory wasn't his ex's regret. It was the version of himself he built after her. Sharper, steadier, and utterly uninterested. In the past, when you walk away without a word, you're not just ending a relationship. You're proving to yourself that your peace is non-negotiable. And that's the kind of revenge that lasts.